What's going on, guys? K-Pine here, and welcome back. And welcome to, I can't believe I'm saying this, Season 21 of the GOBattleLeague. And in this video, I'll be featuring Bibarel in the GreatLeague. With the new season, it's been given the fast move of Rollout, which drastically improves its performance as compared to its previous fast move of Water Gun. Now, besides this being a strong team composition for this Pokemon to shine, Bibarel is legitimately a threat. It sports similar stats to that of Swampert. This means that while not bulky by any means, it still can take a hit as well as dish out some serious damage. So yeah, it can stand its ground. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Superior into Talonflame. Terrible lead, we are going to swap into that Shadow Drapion and throw the Aqua Tail as soon as we get it, because due to the one turn it takes to switch, this is now on good timing. Aqua Tail does very decent amount of chip damage to that Talonflame. Now they swap into a Primeape, and I can throw this Aqua Tail right away again, since I know I will outpace to it before they reach their close combat. And I let it go. I'm like, you know what? I got a little bit of chip on the Talonflame. I got some chip onto this Primeape. I can farm down with Superior and then threaten the Talonflame with the Aerial Aces, right? But they end up going for a Rage Fist bait, and that's perfect because now I get to threaten a shield with that my next Aqua Tail. I can swap into my Superior, get that farm down, and because I got that Aqua Tail chip damage on that Talonflame earlier, my Superior's fine here. I can just throw off an Aerial Ace, get their final shield. And now I can just let this go and rely on Bibarel to win the game, because Bibarel up a shield, there's really not much that beats it except for fighters or bulky grass types. And we already baited out the fighter, so I'm feeling really good about Bibarel, and had a right to feel that good about Bibarel because they have a Feraligatr in the back, and Bibarel is an extremely hard counter to this meta Titan. Double resisted Shadow Claws, resisted Hydro Cannons. As you'll see from a regular Feraligatr, you can comfortably tank 2 Hydro Cannons and not be in any threat of being farmed down whatsoever from the Shadow Claws. It's amazing. If they have a Shadow Gator, you still can take 2 Hydros, but you will get Shadow Claw farm down afterwards. So if you're like, lead your Bibarel into an opposing Shadow Feraligatr, you'll be able to win the Zero Shield scenario with landing that Hyper Fangs and then rollouting down before they even reach a second Hydro Cannon. But say it's like a safe swap scenario where they get up a Shadow Claw, like they safe swap the Shadow Gator, you counter swap with the Bibarel, they will reach a second Hydro Cannon, but you reach that Hyper Fang before they reach that second Hydro Cannon. So if you land that Hyper Fang, you can just let their move go and you'll roll out them down before they Shadow Claw you down. But if they shield, then you'll just shield in return and you're still good there. Anyways, in this matchup, Diggersby Lead, they safe swap into a Clodsire. I don't have the best answer to a Clodsire, so I will chip it with a Frenzy Plant first, counter swap into my Bibarel, and from here this puts it into just about a Surf range. So as you'll see, we could tank a Sludge Bomb pretty well here, as we will shield up the second one and fire off these Surfs in return. I do want to keep switch advantage in this matchup just because I'd rather have my Superior on the Diggersby, especially when shields are down, so it can't land that Scorching Sands on my Shadow Drapion. They make a catch of the Surf onto their Mandibuzz. That's fine. All I need to do is just load up on more energy with those rollouts, then counter swap to my Shadow Drapion, and Shadow Drapion is going to be able to handle the Mandibuzz, so it's not a problem from here. Just got to make sure we're throwing on good timing, and all should be good. They land another Aerial Ace, will fire back with another Aqua Tail. They make a catch of that Aqua Tail on that Diggersby, of which again is perfectly fine because 2 moves are needed to KO this Diggersby. And once I land that Aqua Tail, it puts into the Frenzy Plant range. So we land that Aqua Tail, load back up to another Aqua Tail, store it, and swap it to my Superior. Now, Fire Punch is another move that's been buffed this season, giving it an increase to damage, but 2 Fire Punches still wouldn't KO the bulky Superior from here, as we do land that Frenzy Plant to take it out. And now they bring back in the Clodsire, and this game is just over. Clodsire throws a move to take out my Superior, throw one more rollout, and then the move. Now, I'm hoping the Surf is going to be just enough to KO the Mandibuzz, but it's not. They hang on with 1 HP. Either way, it doesn't matter since we do have the move stored on our Shadow Drapion. But this is one of those examples where Surf has better damage per energy than Hyper Fang does. However, if you're only going to reach one move and they're both neutral against your opponent, then Hyper Fang does just a little bit more damage than Surf does. Just something to keep in mind. GG's my opponent there. Next battle, Shadow Kanto Marowak. Fantastic lead, and my opponent is staying in. Now, that's one thing I've noticed as well with superior leads, is that a lot of opponents disrespect grass types, specifically superior, that it ends up core breaking opponents more often than you think it would. So they end up staying in, calling a bait. We don't bait. Goodbye, Marowak. They safe swap. They bring in their Shadow Zapdos. Another Pokemon has been buffed with Thundershock now dealing increased damage. Safe swap into our Drapion, and there it is. There's the second Pokemon weak to superior, a fellow Bibarel user. I hate to do this to him, but this crunch is going to do quite a bit of damage. You'll see my opponent makes the right play there. They go for the Hyper Fang, hoping the Hyper Fang would be enough to KO, knowing that the Surf isn't. Does a lot of damage, but Shadow Drapion hangs on, fires off a crunch, which does a lot of damage in return. And from here, this game should just be won, as we save both of our shields for Bibarel. Even though my opponent's dealing super effective damage to it, we're dealing super effective damage in return with these rollouts, which are chunking the Zapdos. And they will reach a third Drill Peck, but they're so low at this point that my superior can just comfortably Vine Whip them down, as one singular Vine Whip does it. GG's. Next battle, lead superior into Guzzlord. Now, this is a core breaker because we do have the Shadow Drapion. If we were running Sludge Bomb Crunch or Sludge Bomb Aqua Tail, it would be a little bit better, but because we're on Crunch Aqua Tail, we have to stay in with our superior here. But really, it's not even that matchup at all, that bad of a matchup at all, just because of how hard Frenzy Plants hit. And watch superior here. It's just a tanky beast. Survives that Sludge Bomb and the ensuing Dragon Tails to make a second Frenzy Plant. And this brings the Guzzlord down into the red health. Now we can bring in our Bibarel and just roll out this down. I will shield once for the Sludge Bomb. They aren't going to reach two moves or two Brutal Swings or Dragon Claws. So they go for the right play for the Sludge Bomb, trying to punish a no shield. But we do shield it and we get a rollout down. And now we leave with 1.5 Surf stored. They bring in a Shadow Machamp, and this matchup has looked really bad so far, right? Hard countered on the lead, hard countered in the mid game, but with this energy advantage Bibarel was able to get, watch this. It gets the first shield from the Shadow Machamp. The second one nearly one-shots it, and they bring in a Toxapex, and what looked like a dire matchup is suddenly turning in our favor. First crunch lands, no crunch debuff. Second crunch lands. We're going to see what my opponent wants to do. They do end up shielding that, and it does drop their defense, so a little bit of good luck coming our way. They will land a Brine. Realistically, I can't shield that just because the Shadow Machamp is at 2 or really close to 2 cross chops, so I need to save my shield for that. Now we go for a third crunch. Third crunch does massive damage. Another defense drop, and I swap into my Bibarel to try and catch a Brine, but my opponent had a similar idea. They swap into the Machamp to snipe. We catch the cross chop, get the Poison Sting down, and are we able to reach the crunch? We are. 2 more Poison Stings does it, and a little bit of an overkill. Aqua Tail would have been enough from there, but we reach the crunch regardless, and down goes the Toxapex. GG's. Next battle, Primeape Lead. This is a neutral matchup here, since they can, close combat and dip or go for the Rage Fist. It all depends. I do let them throw first just in case they go for the close combat, so an Aerial Ace will be enough to KO. I just need to look for a catch and be patient, but they end up going for a Rage Fist, and I'm going to go for an Aerial Ace anyways, since Primeapes love to bait. My opponent makes a very nice play here. They let it go, calling I'm only going for the Aerial Ace, as an Aerial Ace won't KO and they'll be able to reach close combat. But the interesting thing about Superior is that even though Aerial Ace is super effective, Frenzy Plant still does more damage. So if I landed that Frenzy Plant there, they won't reach that close combat. But landing that Aerial Ace instead, they do. So again, opponent made a very nice call there, calling that I was only going for the Aerial Ace. But that matchup, as you saw, can get a little bait dependent based off of what you throw and what your opponent throws. Now they come in Clodsire, and I'm going down 2 shields here just because I know they're going to Earthquake. I don't want to shield an Earthquake, or no shielding Earthquake, then I have to shield something like a Sludge Bomb later. So I'm content shielding an Earthquake, knowing that they're gonna have to throw another Earthquake here to potentially take me out or go for 2 other moves. So I will go for the back-to-back Surfs, and look at that. Bibarel being so spammy with the Surfs and how hard they hit, shielding it is never really a bad choice because you know it's going to put in work as it instantly got those 2 shields back. Plus, it tanked that Earthquake better than I thought it would and is able to store an entire Surf, and my opponent brings in a Mana Buzz. And from here, this game is basically over. Just because Shadow Drapion against Mana Buzz, you do soft lose this matchup in the zeros here, but that's it. It's not a hard loss, it's a soft loss. And that after you land the 3rd Aqua Tail, it's in rollout down range. Now it does appear like my opponent does have an attack weighted Mana Buzz instead of a bulk weighted Mana Buzz. So 3 Aqua Tails will just about be enough to take them out. As you'll see here, the opposing Poison Sting do before they reach the 3rd Aerial Ace, but most Mana Buzz you'll face will reach that 3rd Aerial Ace. But like I said, either way, it doesn't matter just because that chip damage plus the rollouts, plus the rollout from your Bibarel afterwards will be enough before they reach that 4th Aerial Ace. Now they bring in that Clodsire. Surf does take it out as they are on minuscule HP, and that is a good game. GG's. Next battle, Shadow Gliscor Lead. Gliscor, given access to the fast move of Sand Attack. So previously, when it was on Wing Attack, that was a bad matchup for the Superior. But now with it being on Sand Attack, it's a very good matchup for the Superior. They hard swap into a Shadow Hypno. We have a fantastic answer in the Drapion, so I load up a little energy on the Superior first, then counter swap to the Drapion, take out the Hypno. Shadow Drapion does Shadow Drapion things, and my opponent, they concede. GG's. Next battle, Superior Lead into Morpeko. Now this is an advantageous matchup for the Superior, and my opponent's staying in, so again, potentially core broken by the Superior, we'll have to see. Now we're gonna let the first move go because Aura Wheel is resisted when it's the electric type Aura Wheel. And I expect them to go for the Psychic Fangs anyways, which they do. And I'm gonna fire off a Frenzy Plant in return. My opponent does shield it. Honestly, it's a pretty safe bait if they're staying in to just go for an Aerial Ace. But if they call that Aerial Ace, then it's just devastating. So again, it's up to you if you want to Aerial Ace bait or full send the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is safer, but who really knows? I will shut up their second move for the potential of it being that dark type Aura Wheel because my defense is dropped. That will hit very, very hard. And now they're back to electric type. I can let this go, calling it's only a Psychic Fangs, which it is. And now from there, after calling that one, I can double shield this because my opponent's double shielded, load up to basically the back-to-back Aerial Aces, and then catch their 4th Psychic Fangs onto my Drapion where it's going to be resisted. So now my Superior has all of this energy loaded, and Drapion has an energy lead when shields are down, which is deadly. They bring in a Starmie, and you're going to get a very quick and short look at this Pokemon, this new buffed Pokemon as well this season, as Crunch just immediately takes it out, and my opponent concedes. GG's. Next battle, Superior into Ariados. Terrible lead, we are going to hard swap into the Drapion, and we will throw an Aqua Tail right away if they stay in, just to take advantage of our faster pacing to bring the 1 turn it takes to swap back to even. They bring in Morpeko, and after landing that Aqua Tail, this is now a very flippable matchup. I'm going to shield a move as it is most likely that Aura Wheel, and then fire off a Aqua Tail right before they reach their next Aura Wheel, but my opponent makes it another smart play, firing off the Psychic Fangs instead of the Aura Wheel, calling that I'm going to be throwing my Aqua Tail then. So I will go for an undercharge just to get 1 extra sting of energy here. Back in comes the Spider. I will fire off this Crunch. Crunch will do some decent amount of damage, but more likely get their first shield. It actually doesn't get their first shield. And they're going to play to the CMP tie to take out my Drapion instead. And because they let that Crunch go, I can just come in Bibarel and raw this down. Now, this isn't that bad of a matchup for Bibarel, actually. Even though they do have access to super effective Trailblaze, you can tank the first Trailblaze and do pretty decent in this matchup. But oh boy, they have a Drifblim in the back. And do you want to know what Bibarel is an even harder answer to other than Feraligatr? It's Drifblim. Drifblim can't do anything here. The Astonishes, the Icy Winds, Mystical Fire, Shadow Ball, it's just miserable for it. Now, Bibarel tanks that Shadow Ball no problem, and my opponent decides they do not want to play anymore and they can see GG's. Next battle, Jumpluff Lead. Gonna swap into our Shadow Drapion. Now they meet it with a Dugong, and this is flippable, a little bit bait dependent. Like if they go for the Drill Run, then you have a better matchup here in the ones, and if they go for the Icy Wind, then you take advantage of the zeros. So I'm gonna let this go. I'm calling that they're going for the Icy Wind, as well as banking on the fact that because they stayed in for a little too long with the Jumpluff before they answered with the Dugong, I would be able to survive that Drill Run and reach a second crunch anyways. But since they go for that Icy Wind instead, we make the second crunch and a third crunch before they farm us down. So now Drapion's just giving us a 2-0 shield advantage. And we all know what Pokemon loves a shield advantage here, and that is Bibarel. So we're going to tank the Icy Wind. I could potentially tank a second one here. I wasn't sure, would have been a little too close. So I do give up a shield in return for getting all this energy, but we are double debuff. So I'm going to bank that energy, swap it to Bibarel, and in comes the Jumpluff. I do shield, calling that they're going to go for the energy ball, hoping they're going to go for the energy ball at least, which they do. And they bring in a Dunsparce. And this is actually now a little bit unfortunate. We have this energy lead onto our Bibarel, but 2 drill runs will +1, I think +1 more rollout will be enough to take out the Bibarel. I mean, we are chipped a little bit already from the Fairy Wind, so 2 drill runs will be enough. But 2 surfs in return won't be enough. I was hoping they will. They weren't. Maybe 2 Hyper Fangs would have been. I'm not sure. That's something I have to look into. But we do come into Superior, snipe them down with that Aerial Ace, play to the CMP tie with our next Aerial Ace, and we're doing everything we can to flip and win this matchup. So this is an Aerial Ace of their own, which will take us out. And from here, we have to hope a rollout plus a Hyper Fang will be enough, or the ensuing rollout is. Bibarel hits hard, but Jumpluff is tanky, but they're able to just hang on and make it to another Aerial Ace. So perhaps if I went for the double Hyper Fang against that Dunsparce, it would have been enough, but I'm not exactly sure. GG's. Next battle, Superior into Corsola. Neutral lead, we do have 2 better answers for this in the back, so we are going to save swap into the Shadow Drapion and again bait out that fighter. So we are going to fire off this Aqua Tail right away, get some nice chip damage on to the Primeape. And from here, I could let this go and get energy on Serp, but I felt like they were going to full send the CC, which they do. So we end up getting the call correctly, and now we can get their first shield with the Aqua Tail if they want to reach another CC, which they do. So we will give up our final shield here and Poison Sting this Primeape all the way down. So we now have 0 shields, but we do have switch advantage, and Bibarel likes to see a good Corsola. They bring in a Clodsire, and here I make a little bit of a misplay, right? I have all this energy. I'm calling that they're on Sludge Bomb Earthquake, so I'm going to CMP tie my next Aqua Tail to their EQ, but they're on Stone Edge, and now I lose all that energy. But it's okay, we got the switch advantage we wanted, so we're going to play it to the best of our abilities and see what we can do. Corsola does come in. They go for the Power Gem. They're forced to go for the more expensive Power Gem instead of Nightshade. As you'll see, Bibarel takes that pretty well, and it looks like it can actually tank 2 Power Gems. So that's good information to know. And now we load up on energy, play to the CMP tie. With how much that first surf did, it's looking like the second surf might be enough to take it out, which it just is. We all know how tanky Galarian Corsola is. So that's a good example of how hard Bibarel hits opposing Pokemon there. My opponent does give up their final shield to that Surf, but that's no problem, as we can load up a little bit more, swap into our Superior before they reach the Stone Edge, and that gives us the chance to reach another Surf in the end game if needed. But Stone Edge lands onto the Superior, we land the Frenzy Plant, and this won't be quite enough, so it's going to be a little bit of a fast move race to see if they can fast move down, which they cannot, as it's a simul KO, but with Bibarel still in the back, we are able to take that one. GG's. Besides this video showcasing the strength is superior, I think it provided a good example of what Bibarel is capable of, and dare I say, it's even meta now. With that normal and water typing, it serves as a good counter to the ever-present Feraligatr, and is just good in neutral matchups as well. So when team building for the season, I would prepare expecting to see this Pokemon around, as well as its potential for play Pokemon Show 6 formats. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.